I was never really big on Instagram, even though I'm a part of the generation whose high school years were defined by social media. I could see so many girls taking selfies all the time and obsessing about their looks that I just didn't want to take part in any of that. It looked silly, and I was about to find out it could get much worse than silly. My best friend at the time, Paula, used to have the same mindset as me. She only kept an Instagram page to post pictures from holidays and to follow up with people she knew. As soon as we started college, Paula started to change. Her friend group changed, and so did her interests. Every time I would see her, she would be on her phone, barely paying attention to what I was saying. She wouldn't ask me about my life anymore. All her questions would be like, "Do you think this dress makes me look fat?" Or, "What do you think is my best angle?" This was pretty shocking to hear from the girl who used to make fun of people who were like that. Something was happening to Paula, and I felt like I was losing my best friend to the internet. So I decided I was going to create an Instagram profile and follow her, just to keep an eye on things from afar. It was then that I realized that my best friend was gaining followers by the hour. I don't know if she was paying for it or not, but I could see how her pictures evolved through the last year. She went from innocent pictures with her family on holiday to daring, revealing pictures that just seemed to crave attention. Then I noticed the comments. Random followers with creepy account names such as Ladies Lover XOXO and Give It To Me would ask Paula to do all sorts of things. One comment read, "I want to see you in a green bikini next time." Another said, "You should cut your hair short. You look boring like this." It was hard to even read these mean comments, so I was imagining how tough it was for Paula to receive this feedback. I decided I was going to pay her a surprise visit, and if she was in the right mood, maybe discuss her dangerous obsession with Instagram. I was sure that if she distanced herself from her account, it could only do her good. So I rang the doorbell and waited for a few minutes. When she finally opened the door, I gasped. She had gotten herself a pixie cut. 1 day after that comment was made on her profile. She didn't know that I had seen the comment, so I didn't want to make a brash remark and scare her off. I only said, "Wow, you cut your hair." She replied, "Yeah, it was about time," saying nothing about that comment, which I knew was the source of her decision. We went upstairs and I could see that her bedroom had completely turned into a selfie studio for her Instagram account. There were 3 different sized mirrors with bathing suits and scarves hung on top. Makeup boxes had taken over her desk, and one of her walls had several pictures of Paula in bathing suits stuck to it. I couldn't help myself anymore. "Don't you think this is all a little bit too much?" "Don't you think you're a bit much?" she sneered back aggressively. I honestly felt like I didn't even know her anymore. "Look, Paula, I just think you've gone so deep into Instagram that you forgot about everything else. About you. I saw that comment who encouraged you to cut your hair yesterday, and today you've already gone and done it. Don't you think these random people have too much of an influence on you?" This all sounded very good when I said it, but I could see on Paula's face that my words had little to no effect on her. "I think you should mind your own business. I'm finally someone now. Thousands of people follow me, and if they want new things from me, I think they deserve them." I didn't really agree, but I didn't know what else to say. Perhaps I gave up too easily, but after a few more minutes in that weird atmosphere, I decided to leave Paula's place and even distance myself from her. Still, I cared for her, and I was worried just how far she'd go to keep her followers satisfied. So I kept following her account. Within a month, she was a proper influencer. She had some 20,000 followers and would post several posts and stories every day. I could see that she had gotten dangerously skinny and that she would just copy photos of bigger Instagram celebrities. She was quite literally a shell of her former self, so I decided to take action. In one of her stories, Paula was bragging about a hike to the Grand Canyon that she was going to do the following weekend. I messaged her and asked her if I could tag along. She said, "Okay, sure." So on the next Saturday morning, I came to her place ready for a drive, a hike, and a real chat. I tried to talk Paula out of her obsession and even pointed to the fact that her photos looked the same as many other photos, not to talk about her weight, which honestly frightened me. But she would have none of that. In fact, she got really angry at me. I then got angry at her for being so ignorant and self-destructive. So when we were hiking, I could see a giant valley under us, and I grabbed her phone and threw it over the edge of the cliff. I knew she would be angry at me, but I didn't anticipate just how angry. She shouted at me and said I didn't understand, and before I could do anything, she pushed me over the edge. Yes, she literally sent me to my death over her phone. I was extremely lucky. While I was sliding down red sand and tiny rocks, I stopped in a bush. It was spiky, and I was already full of scratches from my fall, but I was alive. I immediately called 911, and they were able to get me out of that impossible place. It didn't end up well for Paula. She's now in prison for attempted murder. And of course, her follower base on Instagram decreased to 10 or so people after everyone found out what she had done. The silver lining? I guess she finally sees the danger in having an Instagram obsession. I had no idea what I was signing up for when I first got Instagram. It was my first year of college, and my boyfriend at the time, Mac, convinced me it would be fun. He was taking a year off of school to practice his acting skills and develop as a comedian. He was a keen follower of Impractical Jokers and wanted to do pranks on screen as well. So when Mac got me to create an Instagram account, it was more so I could follow him and spread the word. However, I wasn't really aware of this from the start. I wasn't aware of many things until much too late. At first, it was really fun to follow Mac's page, although I was a bit concerned that he didn't show any ambition past pranking people. I thought it must just be where his talent was at, and maybe going to college just wasn't necessary for everyone. But months passed, and all Mac did was silly stunts that he would post on Instagram. He became obsessed with becoming famous and would post several times a day. We had a few dates where I would talk to him and he would just reply, while looking at his phone. I told him I noticed that he was becoming obsessed with social media and that I didn't feel great when he ignored me. He got all defensive and snapped, "Don't you know this is my dream? All of you nerds talk about college and careers like everyone needs to be boring and follow the system. Well, I'm not like that. One day I'm gonna be a famous comedian. You'll see." I was quite young back then. Maybe I should have fought back or tried harder to make him wake up. Instead, I felt guilty for criticizing his dreams. So I figured I'd cut him some slack, all the while preparing for my exams, which kept me pretty busy. I kept following Mac, curious to see how the career he was promising to me would develop. But it wasn't pretty. Maybe from peer pressure or from the pressure to keep his followers engaged, his pranks were becoming quite violent. One video showed him pouring a bucket of ice over his neighbor's kid. The kid was only 5 years old, and needless to say, he was pretty shocked. He cried for minutes, and I could hear Mac laughing at him in the video. It was pretty horrible. Then, it got even worse. One day, I decided to check my Instagram, and the first post to appear on the homepage was a video showing Mac's sister screaming in agony after he'd thrown a cup of steaming hot coffee on her arm. The prank was him telling her, "Think fast," before throwing a cup at her. The cup didn't have a lid, and obviously, it spilled all over her. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and I couldn't believe that something as cruel as this amused Mac. I felt sick and completely disgusted by the fact that his behavior was gaining him followers. This was when I began questioning my relationship with Mac. I didn't feel happy when I saw him anymore. In fact, I just felt sickened by his Instagram and worried that I would end up a victim of his horrible pranks. So one morning, I woke up confident that I would meet him and break up with him. Then I turned on my phone and checked my Instagram. Mac's newest post showed him at his old high school bullying his former teachers by spraying inside the classrooms with pepper spray. I felt a knot in my stomach. Suddenly, I was very anxious about meeting him. Who had he become? This definitely wasn't the Mac I fell in love with about a year back. He used to seem like a funny, laid-back guy. Now he was this fame-obsessed monster who would do anything for 1,000 more followers. I decided I was going to text him and tell him it was over. Maybe it was immature, but I thought this was the saner, safer decision considering. So I left him a long message telling him that his aggressive behavior hurts people and hurts me to see as well. He didn't reply for hours. When it got dark, I was fidgety and anxious about what he would do. I was sure he wouldn't let it go that easily. So I opened Instagram. In his new video, Mac was inciting his followers to come to my address and prank me. In the video, he was describing me as a selfish bitch, unable to support his dream of becoming a great comedian, and who deserved to be pranked. In fact, he was even doing a giveaway for the follower who pranked me the hardest. I was terrified. I was living with my mom at the time, but she was away that evening working late hours. I called her crying and told her everything, desperate to find a quick solution to the situation. My mom said she would call the police immediately and then she would come over. I didn't want her to come over because I didn't want her to be pranked too. I told her I was coming to her office to wait until the police got home. But a crazy follower anticipated that I would leave the house and was waiting for me behind the front door with hot oil. He threw it on my face, and I was quick enough to raise my arm and take the most damage with my left elbow, which was covered in a winter coat. A bit of the oil reached my face too, and I was screaming and crying at the same time, as I had no idea how bad the damage was. I couldn't even look at the perp so that I could describe him to the police when they arrived. It was the worst experience of my life. I was so overwhelmed with pain and anger that I just crouched down on the sidewalk and waited for the police to come. When they eventually arrived, they saw me and had an ambulance get home ASAP. They rushed me to the hospital, and by the time I got there, my mom was waiting for me. After receiving some emergency treatment, I was finally able to talk to my mom. "Have you seen the bastard who did this?" she asked. "No, it all happened too fast." "Mom, do you have a mirror?" I didn't want to know, but I had to. How did my face look after the attack? It was bad. Half of my face was covered in bandages, and I could see blisters all around my left eye and cheekbone. My heart sank at the thought that I was never going to look the same, all because I decided to leave a toxic relationship. In the end, police found the attacker through Mac's Instagram page. He never deleted his post where he incited the violence, and in the comment section, there was a guy bragging about what he was going to do to me. Both Mac and his crazy follower are now in jail, facing between 20 and 30 years for a myriad of offenses. I had just turned 19 and I was going to New York for a month-long course in fashion. I was studying photography and I wanted to combine these two passions of mine and slowly build towards a career in fashion photography. My distant cousin Angela was in New York and I thought I'd hang out with her since I was going to be in town for a whole month. We weren't exactly close before, as I was 2 time zones away and we rarely visited each other. We followed each other on Instagram though. This would prove to be a very bad decision. When I got to New York, I sent Angela a DM on Instagram asking her if she would want to catch up one of those days. We ended up meeting that very evening. We grabbed boba tea and walked around Greenwich Village talking about what we had been doing the past year. She was 3 years older than me and she was in her last year of college getting ready for her bachelor's in architecture. So she told me how much she loved photography and fashion as well, and how much she likes the direction I've taken. I actually believed her, and I felt glad I had a friend in a strange city. Over the next few days, I would go to the course and then use my spare time to explore the city and take photos of the fashionable people of New York. I could see my follower base rise quickly, perhaps because of the New York hashtag, or maybe because I was just good at what I was doing. Angela already had over 10,000 followers, and she was proudly calling herself an influencer. Her Instagram posts would usually show the coolest buildings, clubs, and restaurants around town. The next time I met Angela, she took me to a very hip cafe in Brooklyn, which was just gaining popularity at the time. I didn't realize it then, but it was a very subtle power game to show me who's boss. "I noticed you're getting quite a lot of followers now that you're in New York," she said in a cold way. "I guess I am. It's pretty nice," I replied, not knowing where the conversation was going. Then Angela pulled her phone out of her jacket with a slow movement and took a photo of our table, showing the beautiful scenery outside the restaurant in the background. She then posted it on Instagram with a bunch of hashtags she knew by heart and waited. She must have gotten 100 likes in the first minute. It was then that she showed me her phone. Look, this is how it gets done. This is an amateur hour. You better step up your game. I didn't understand where all the meanness was coming from. A few days back, she was being friendly and supportive of my career plans. So I told her exactly this and asked her why she was being so mean all of a sudden. She sneered at me. You think you can just waltz in here and steal my thunder, little cousin? I was confused. Surely there must be thousands of Instagram influencers in New York. Why are you so fixated on me? Because you're family and you can't be better than me. I then realized that Angela had bigger, deeper problems than me becoming popular on social media. I felt sad that her friendship was fake, but decided it was better if I left the restaurant and distanced myself from her. A week or so went by and I carried on with my fashion course and my growing Instagram page. I was happy to see that I got good feedback on my fashion photography. But before I could get too happy, horrible comments appeared below every post. It was Angela saying things like, "Wow, so original, you didn't copy this from my page at all," or "You really don't know what you're doing, do you?" It was really hard to read these comments that just wouldn't stop, and I was worried I would lose my followers because of her. So after 10 or so insulting comments, I blocked her. The weekend came and I was going to a party with one of my course mates that they had invited me to. It was on a rooftop bar, and I was pretty excited about it, so when I got there, I posted a story on Instagram. Started dancing with my newly made friends, and I was having a great time. Finally feeling like I had a crew in the city. I went to the bar to order a Coke when Angela greeted me. She had been stalking the bar for who knows how long. Apparently, a friend of hers had seen my Instagram story, so she knew where to find me. She apologized for her behavior the week before and offered to pay for my drink. I thought, finally, she realized how weird she was. So I accepted her offer. I waited for her to get me the drink, and then I invited her to the dance floor. She said, "Oh, no thank you, I'm a bit tired. I'll just sit here for a while." I took a sip from my glass and then went off to dance some more. First, I felt dizzy. Then my legs went jelly, and I couldn't stand up anymore. I collapsed to the floor and hit my head. I woke up in a hospital with no idea about how much time had passed. A couple of course mates were there with me, and they stood up immediately when they heard me wake up. "What happened?" I asked, and flinched at how hoarse my voice was. "Your horrible cousin spiked your drink. The doctor said she put a ton of horse tranquilizer in there." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How petty and vindictive can someone be? My head hurt like hell, and all I could think of was, I wonder how many people out there are as fake as Angela. As soon as I was out of the hospital, I spoke with the police and told them what my cousin had done. She was arrested and fined for a serious amount too. The kind that will keep her from ever visiting high-end, Instagrammable restaurants again. Even so, this whole experience shattered me. It made me much more cautious about people and much less enthusiastic about Instagram fame. Well, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed the stories, make sure to like the video, and there's loads more blood-curdling stories where that came from. So why not subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button so you never miss them when they come out. Stay safe out there and sleep tight.